Where'd you got to?
Oh,
Bloody hell, Matt, what have you come as?
the outside. It's just a bit of an homage to the past, really, mate. You know, it's. Do you realise actually what you're looking at?
Well, I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm looking at, but maybe you need to enlighten me.
This is one of the bikes that Stephen Roche rode to the Treble way back in 1987, won the Giro, Tour de France and the World Championships, and this is one of the actual bikes that Stephen rode.
That's very cool. And
It's a part of cycling history, and you, my son, about to come out for a ride. You can sit on my wheel if you so wish.
that is proper cool, isn't it? Fear rims.
Even got the original Vittoria tyres from 1987 on there as well.
way.
They don't hold air too well, but they do roll rather beautifully. And of course, full retro kit. I've got full leather original CD shoes from 1986.
Nice.
A Danish Cinelli helmet from 1988. And of course, the Carrera jersey from 1987 that's obviously Stephen won the Tour in.
Cool, isn't it?
It did take me nearly 15 minutes to get my foot in the toe clips, to be perfectly honest with you. But I tell you what, how about we go for a spin?
Let's do it.
So I can completely, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the oven to medium and bake this retro pie until golden brown. With that side.
Yeah, hang on a minute. Shit, it's really quite difficult, isn't it?
Oh,
Where's the hole? I can't find your hole, Matt. It's all right, Matt. It's not a rush.
It's all right, I'm in.
Oh, nice one. Matt, there's so many things that are different on that bike, either subtle or major. I don't know where to start. Like, what's your first impressions?
Straight away, I think it's picking the bike up. It is remarkably heavy, and when you compare it to the Ridley you're riding, for example, I think we're looking at least 2.5, maybe 3 kilos heavier than a standard, well, than a light road bike of today. But the first visual thing that strikes you is how narrow the tubes are.
Yeah.
There's Columbus SLX tubing on this bike. It does look beautiful. There's so much craftsmanship that's gone into the lugs. There's Battaglia, little stamped absolutely everywhere. It really is a thing of beauty, but it just looks fragile. But upon riding it, it isn't, because I didn't ride this bike, but I rode steel frames when I first started out, and you forget that they are pretty rugged. I think when you look at a bike like this compared to the bikes of today, that it just looks so stiff, and these look just quite weak, but when you put the power through, there's not too much loss at all. It's actually not that bad. Just one other interesting thing before I stamp on the pedals, I've now run out of gears. I think I'm on 42.19. It's 7 speed, so this is all I've got.
So you've got down tube shifters on there.
Yep.
And pretty much the biggest revolution in shifting, aside from the invention of the derailleur, was when Shimano moved the shifters up to the levers.
That's right.
So, I mean, how is it going back to down tube?
It's strange. I mean, the one thing I like to call these, they're self-trimming. And by that, I mean, you have to trim them yourself. These aren't even indexed. Even under a fair bit of torque, changing onto the big ring isn't too much of a hassle. I mean, this bike's nearly 30 years old, and that went straight in, straight away. It's actually really, really beautiful. And I think one other thing that stood out, the drop from saddle to handlebars, well, there isn't much at all. I do feel quite elevated at the front end. But when you look at the position that Stephen Roche had back in the Tour, it wasn't as extreme as the riders today. And this does feel as if you could happily tour all day without compromising, well, any comfort really. It's the thing though, when you run out of gears, you've got to sit back down, select it again, and there you go. I'm sure it won't take an eagle eye to notice that I'm actually running a modern deep section front on this bike. Unfortunately, these tyres are 30 years old, and one did go just before we started the ride. And we've just got, I think, Simon, about 2 mil to spare.
Tell you what, Matt, I'm quite intrigued now to see how that thing descends. You've got Delta brakes, which are not famous for being particularly good.
They've got inbuilt modulation, which isn't necessarily a good thing.
No.
But let's stick it on the big one. Here we go. The brakes are actually on the wrong way around for me as well. And I am actually running Vittoria CXs that are nearly 30 years old, so I'm going to be a little bit careful. But actually feels okay. Quite a rough road surface, and it's really absorbing the uneven surface, and it's actually very comfortable. There you go, retro versus modern, retro wins. Cheers, Si.
One of the other big things about the gearing is the ratios. When even pros now are riding compacts, you're on what, 42, 20 is your...
Yeah, well, the big ring's 52, the little ring is a 42.
Well, we're just going to have a little test.
Okay.
Because I wonder whether we might find the limits of that bike.
Remember also, Si, I've got full leather soled shoes as well. So I'm losing at least, I reckon, 80 watts per revolution.
On climbs as steep as this, where it's the weight that kicks in as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got another 2.5, 3 kilos than you. Oh, crumbs. Didn't say it was this steep, Si.
It gets a bit worse just around the corner, actually.
Whoa! How steep's that? About 1 in 4?
It goes up to about 1 in 3, I think, around the corner.
Well, there you go. I don't feel too disappointed now, Si. Right, should we try a bit of through and off?
The other thing then, that bike pretty much marks a changing of the era is the pedals, isn't it? They're still running clips and straps on there, which is presumably what Stephen Roach used then to win the Giro, Tour, World's Triple Crown.
In terms of the actual performance, I think they're exactly the same. It's just a comfort thing and a convenience thing.
Yeah.
Once you've got your foot tight in there was nothing, you didn't lose anything at all. And bear in mind, Sean Kelly won numerous classics at the back end of the 80s, riding against some riders without clips. It's just one of those things, so certainly they're not a detriment to power.
Right, well here's the burning question then, Matt. Given the huge increases in technology between a 1987 bike and a 2014 bike, is it actually more fun, more comfortable to ride a modern bike or an old bike?
Do you know what? I've been riding this for a few miles now. It feels remarkably comfortable. With a few tweaks, I'll probably lift the hoods up a little bit. It's actually a pleasure to ride. It's part of cycling's heritage. And do you know what? I'm actually thinking about buying a retro bike just to go on cafe runs and just enjoy what cycling is all about. But I think in terms of ultimate performance, or a hard, tough training ride, I'd go for one of those. For relaxing days in the sunshine, I'd go for one of these so you can just enjoy the sport. Let's just wind this up a little bit, see what this beauty can do. What have we got on the Speedo? 27, 28, 29, 30 mile an hour. Oh, look. Woo-hoo. You're right about there, Si. For more GCN Friday features, click here. And for my retro tech, click here. And to be a fan of GCN, click on my helmet.